wanted to run through some of the dolls that I would say are the most influential to me in my collection. One of those is my Gloom Beach Draculaura. I got her at the same time as I got Gloom Beach, Cleo and Claudine, and these were the first Monster High dolls I ever had. I didn't even know they existed before then. We were on holiday and we went to America, we were in Target, and even though I was kind of like a preteen or just about a teenager, I still liked dolls, pretending I didn't at this stage, but I still always wanted to look in the doll section. And I saw these dolls, and obviously at the time there hadn't really been anything like them. It was a lot of Barbie and Disney princesses and things like that, and so I thought that they were really cool and I got them, and that did start my interest in Monster High. I got a few dolls at that time before I felt even more so like I had to pretend I didn't like dolls and kind of put them away for a while. But they definitely sparked something in me, especially at that age where I was kind of like, am I too old for dolls? Is this okay? It was really good like boost to be like, wait, there are things that are more aimed at you. And so yeah, these I would say are definitely up there for being the dolls that really started me loving dolls as I got older. This is the next doll I have. I'm pretty sure I have them in chronological order to how I got them. So I actually took a really long time of trying to fit in, pretending I didn't like dolls, getting rid of most of them or having them put up into the loft or away in drawers. And I must have been about 20, I think it was during COVID roughly, when Bratz brought out the reproductions of the first edition dolls. I never had the first edition ones, but I had a lot of Bratz from kind of 2003 to 2007. When I was younger, they were a doll line that I really, really loved. And yeah, I wasn't really thinking about dolls much, although when I look through my camera roll, like all throughout my life, I've been like looking. There's like random screenshots of Ever After High dolls or things like that, but I wasn't really purchasing dolls, looking at them. But for some reason, when I saw that Bratz were coming back, and I think the fact that they were reproductions and they were kind of felt like it was this kind of aim at nostalgia and people that were adults now but did have dolls, it felt like that's who it was targeted at. And it was kind of a realization of like, oh, I could actually buy this. And for some reason I just was like, I need her, like I need this doll, I need to have her. And she even sat out on my bookshelf because for some reason I thought all my other dolls and my Monster High dolls have to stay hidden, but if I have her on my bookshelf, it's, you know, quirky and cool. So she again kind of opened my eyes as I was actually an adult now into, you know, some brands market towards, you know, nostalgia or older collectors. It's not just children. And that kind of started to plant the seed that like it's actually okay to still like dolls. My next doll, she's quite tall actually, but this is my ILY, or apparently it's Illy, dolls, and this was one of the ones that they sold in Disney. I also got the Space Mountain like pajama fashion pack thing. This doll I bought when I went on a really impromptu holiday to Disney with an ex, who obviously wasn't an ex at the time, but anyway, we went to Disney and it kind of unlocked this whole, you know, I can do what I want and it's not embarrassing. I'm not going to be embarrassed by it. I'm going to enjoy this holiday. I had my first full-time job, so I had some money and I was like, yeah, do you know, I can spend it however I want. And this was the first purchase of a doll as an adult that I got in store and just was like, yeah, okay, I want this doll. It's not weird. And it was again like kind of a time for me. I was back in America, we went to Target and I was looking at dolls there, and it was kind of like when I was that kind of young teen looking at dolls and being like, oh, I kind of like them but I feel like I shouldn't, that kind of age. So to go back there as an adult with my adult job money and then be able to buy a doll that I thought was really cool. And because I love Disney, so obviously having the dolls that are themed off of kind of characters subtly and rides and things, it was really cool. So yeah, she was definitely up there for influencing the start of properly collecting. Now these three I'm going to put together because I actually got them at the same time, and I think there is a couple other Rainbow High dolls or Shadow High that I also got, but these dolls I got in, I believe it was 2024 for my 25th birthday, or it might have been the year before, but I'm pretty sure it was after I went on that holiday and I bought the Disney doll. I decided that year for my birthday, again because I had money, because I was working my full-time job that I had then, I thought I can buy myself a birthday present. So I spent a lot of money and bought, well, a lot of money for me, and I bought the reproduction Slumber Party Yasmin, because this was one of the dolls I had in my childhood, and at the time I thought I'd gotten rid of them all, but we did recently find them in the loft. But she has such a tragic haircut, so I'm very glad I did get the reproduction. So I got her, which again was like so nostalgic to have and reopen a doll that I had before. And then Rainbow High I never had. They came out when I was an adult, and I hadn't really, you know, it wasn't, as much as I was still kind of getting into buying dolls, I wasn't really looking them up all the time or staying on top of news. I didn't know that other adult collectors existed. Like, I assumed they did, but I didn't know about any, you know, Instagram community, TikTok, anything like that. I mean, TikTok was new then anyway. But I saw these and I just thought, you know, the quality and the detail, and I never liked boy dolls, but I saw Rex and I was actually obsessed. Like, I love the little AirPods and the coat. There's a heat wave right now, so I didn't feel like he should be wearing a giant puffer jacket, but I love the coat and the necklace and like all of the details that they came with. I just thought he was so cool. I needed to have him. He was like my top Rainbow Shadow High doll that I wanted. So these, yeah, it was, I remember it just feeling really special opening them. Like, I'd bought them for myself, but it was just like, I feel like this was at a time where I was kind of, you know, discovering myself, and that this was something I genuinely liked. I did really love buying dolls, and then being able to do that for my birthday and having the money to do it for once, really special, I guess. It didn't actually, again, fully trigger like collecting. I think I had to find online communities to like almost give myself that permission, or to even know it was a thing. But I definitely was, from this point on, looking at some of the dolls that were coming out, looking at them online, looking at different kind of websites that list all of the dolls in different lines. So yeah, this is definitely, again, another step. And now we move on to the beginning of 2026. So we moved house and life was just pretty bad. Like, there was a lot of things happening, not having a good time. House move was not something that we wanted, it was something we had to do. And where we moved to wasn't by choice either, so everything kind of was falling apart. And for some reason, it was actually right at the end of 2025, in that week between Christmas and New Year, because we literally did move kind of right before Christmas. We were moving stuff around, and I thought about my dolls, and I was like, actually, I need to go and get them. So I had some Ever After High dolls, I had my Monster High dolls, they were all in a little drawer under my wardrobe, and my American Girl dolls. And I suddenly was like, okay, I need to get them. I had so much fun going through, figuring out who everyone was, what they were supposed to look like, how I should do their hair. And it was Googling things like that I came across all of the online communities. And somehow I had been completely blind to the fact that Monster High had stopped and come back, you know, in my head, because I wasn't really looking at Monster High at this point. I didn't know. And initially I hated them. I don't like change. So I was like, what are these? What have they done to the characters? And pretty quickly I realized, actually, they're so pretty. I love the detail. I love the diversity. I love the different kind of like personalities and traits they have, and the diversity. Again, I love it, and I literally think I prefer G3 now. And yeah, as we just get into then 2026, right? In the first month, I bought myself my first ever G3 doll, which was Scary Sweet Birthday Draculaura, and I think she's such a pretty one to have as like the first doll. There was so much detail and the little gifts and things, and I loved her. I think she was one of the first dolls that I boil washed when I realised what that was, when I was like properly, again, getting into TikTok and Instagram. And so she represents one, getting into Monster High G3, which I now absolutely love, but also finding the communities, finding out that adult doll collecting is an actual thing, that I can do this, that there are so many just resources to find different dolls that exist, and just getting to see the details and how the makeup's different on different dolls. I really want to cut this little bit of fringe, that's really irritating me, but anyway, so yeah, that is why she has been quite influential. Penultimate doll probably should have been standing here alongside Draculaura, but I think kind of within the same week I also got Real Drama, Frankie, Claudine and Draculaura. And these also more specifically kind of, again, open my eyes in the same way that the reproduction brats did, that actually some dolls might not necessarily just be for children. Like, I do feel like these kind of alumni releases are, again, that kind of nostalgia thing and aimed at, I mean, like, she doesn't really look like a toy that most children, generalizing, would want to play with. And, you know, as well, we've all realised since G3 has come out how flimsy their bodies are. Like, they do feel like they're meant to just be displayed. And the Real Drama dolls, I never had any of the originals, and I didn't realise until then how expensive it is to get them. So I like that this was a chance for me to get affordable versions of the original dolls. And yeah, they kind of speak to that same thing of finding communities, finding out that doll collecting is for anyone and dolls are for anyone. And yeah, I just think they're really cool. These were something as well that when I was talking to Mum, because she initially was kind of like, this is kind of weird, and I was showing her these and she thinks they're really cool. She really likes the Monster High dolls, I think, and thinks that they're pretty cool, and that, yeah, I think even just the dark makeup alone, you can kind of tell these are more like a to be displayed thing. I really like them. And then last on my list, not last because she, again, is most influential out of all of them. I'd say they're all pretty equal in their own way, but last as in this was the most recent. This is the first OMG doll that I got. I got her at a car boot sale, one of the first car boot sales I went to as well, when I discovered that, and that there were quite a lot of dolls there and you could get some good luck there, and that was a really good affordable way to get dolls, because I am back to being a uni student for now, so I don't actually have as much money. But when I first saw these, I thought they were so weird looking. I didn't like them. It was the eyes mainly. I was just like, that's so weird, don't like them. And I was adamant that I was never ever going to buy one. And I said to my mum, I was like, if I ever say that I want one of these, I've gone off the deep end. Stop me. She was actually with me when I bought this doll, and she was like, you say you didn't ever want to get one of these? But I think, again, it's just that change. Like, they are quite different to, I grew up in the early 2000s with the kind of classic Disney princesses and the Generation Girl Barbies. I was very much used to no articulation and very normal, cartoon in some ways, but a very kind of normal proportioned doll. So the face here, very different. I guess you could say brats aren't really normally proportioned, but I like them. But yeah, for some reason I just looked at them and thought, they are strange, I don't want them. And as with a lot of things, over time they really grew on me. Again, I think their outfits are just so high quality, especially the earlier ones, and their hair is really nice. I do love nylon, and I believe they are nylon. And I really learnt to appreciate this, stylization, the different makeup, and, they are quite cartoony, but that's really cool, especially when you have them all lined up. She's one that's supposed to have the bow. I tried like 8 times to do the bow and I could not do it. I also think some of her hair had been cut. So I kind of gave her this hairstyle, but again, that's fun, and fun getting dolls that are incomplete from car boot sales that you have to fix up, or you know, you can mix and match clothes for with what you've got. But yeah, so she is influential again in reminding myself not to close myself off to things that I initially don't like. Otherwise I wouldn't have any G3 dolls. I probably wouldn't have any dolls because I was convinced that was wrong. And I wouldn't have my OMGs, who I have a very small collection of, but I really love. And I think it's a good lesson, because I think a lot of us in the doll community see a brand do something slightly different and our immediate reaction is, oh my god, what have you done? You've ruined our dolls. And eventually they sometimes end up being more preferred, or just preferred in a different way to the other dolls. And so she's an important reminder of that, and that is why she also made the list. That is all I have for this list of most influential dolls at the moment. Maybe one day there'll be ones that are different, or I choose for different reasons. I do find it fun just going around my room and, you know, categorizing dolls and thinking like, oh, who's the most influential, which ones are most nostalgic, things like that I find really fun. So this was really fun to do and look at and just focus on different dolls, and especially you end up focusing on a selection that you maybe wouldn't normally put together but actually are related and under this umbrella of being influential to the collection. So yeah, that was all just really fun. It's just fun to talk about dolls and look at them, and yeah, that is all.